Hello everyone, it's been about a week since my last video and I made a lot of changes to the build, so I thought I'd just go through some of those. The biggest ones being changes to the tree here. As you can see, I've skipped out on some of this and have opted to go this way for commanding rage, as well as slotting in a from nothing diamond with bulwark, so I can get both warlord leader and warlord berserker. How we're taking advantage of that is, since we already use Blood of the Warrior, we can get a lot of value out of Rage, where you stack it with Commanding Rage, as well as getting Rage stacking on your minions with Warlord Berserker. And so I felt kind of silly that I hadn't been taking advantage of that. I just didn't notice Commanding Rage. I just didn't think about it until I was like level 98, which is a little silly. But now that I'm there, I'm going to take advantage of that. Something else too, I'm now using Emboldening Lead, and how we proc that is we're getting a lot of value out of Repulsion on this build now. Repulsion is very interesting because of how it works. It counts as a hit. This means you can do a lot of really interesting things with it. Obviously, you can proc this, but you can also get value out of it by slotting in a Heart of the Will with extra lightning damage. This makes Repulsion do lightning damage, which allows it to proc living lightning. So you basically get a bunch of living lightning minions for free, and they also help proc more repulsions. And once it procs, Despair takes over as a curse, which allows you to still get the curse explosion from Rupture the Soul. And since this just kind of overrides after that procs, you don't need extra curse limit. You can just use both of these. And then with the Fox Idol, you get extra quality, which reduces the curse the reservation efficiency, which makes it so you just barely have enough to have Seraph's Heart, Repulsion, and Despair, while having all but like 17. Like for me, I have 17 life left out of my reservation. This means obviously you have to drop Phylactery to get Eternal Life, which I think is worth it. You need this, or else you'll just fucking die whenever something touches you. But with Eternal Life, you can just get rid of everything for basically free. And then obviously you would drop Outboiling now, and you would just run a Recoup Corruption on here. And then I mentioned in the other video, to be able to get Raven Touched on your helmet, you have to have an exceptional base. Or, I mean, technically you can do it and then corrupt it, but that would be a real pain in the ass. But if you have an exceptional base, you can do both of these. And then with your boots, now that you have, especially with the low life, you can get a lot of movement speed. So I know a lot of people use Anamumu's, but I think Anamumu's is bait, because you can get so much movement speed on your tree as well as on your boots, especially with the Rune Master, because you can either over corrupt your movement speed, or you can get it as a corrupt implicit. You get the extra 5% on the implicit anyway, and then you could slot in another 5% with Rune of the Chase, and then another 10 with Tekrod's Gaze. And then obviously you're getting the movement speed here, and you're getting movement speed here, and you're getting movement speed here. So there's no way you can get enough value out of Anamumu, especially since even at high spirit investment, you're only going to get like 400 something. So I think that's important. And then the rest of the build is mostly the same. I did change up. I think Verona Siege is really good, because obviously for mapping you don't need as much damage. The area of effect is valuable for just killing things as fast as possible. And then the isolated, just when you're doing bosses, you're getting 20% more. So I think there's a lot of value to be had here. I mentioned earlier that Ornamental's, I know it's really expensive right now, so you can also just have like attack speed here and then run armor break on these guys instead. This is something else I changed. I dropped the old amulet to have this. You just get a lot of value out of having Wolfpack on your amulet. It basically just makes this like 110 spirit on an amulet, which is insanely good. These are a huge pain in the ass to craft, because obviously you have to fracture your spirit and then chaos on minion skills. I know chaos is really expensive now, but that's how I did it. I just fractured spirit. I think it took 5 attempts to fracture the spirit, and then I chaosed on minion skills, and then I got my recoup life, and then just whittled until I hit this, and then desecrated this. And that's that for those changes. And some of the bigger changes I wish I could make with this build that have been kind of a giant pain in the ass is obviously getting a +5 scepter would be really strong. This is something else that I think you get a lot of value out of, is getting presence effect on a scepter, because you can get a bunch of presence effect since you losing some with Warlord Berserker, and then having presence area helps a lot with Rupture of the Soul. Something else that's useful is having a curse on your focus just for more curse radius. Since you can't really you can put mag effect here for more curse radius, but it's but I like Seraph's Heart. Obviously you get a lot of defensive value out of this. And then the rest of the build is mostly the same. Obviously you get the +2, you get this, you get your resistances the best you can. I think the best way to get resistances is going to be Ventur's Gamble, because obviously it's really hard to get it anywhere else, because you get it on your focus, you get it on your gloves, you get it on your rings, and then your helmet, and then it's just a huge pain in the ass to solve all your resistances. You'll see I only have 63%, and then I'm just taking advantage of Amethyst Bangle to get the rest, to have capped resistances, and then the rest is, at these points. I think that's it for all the changes. I can go ahead and showcase the build in a map, and just give an example of how it plays. So just Alright, so that's generally how the build feels to play. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.